great. It also brings up issues of equity that we really have to think about and address pretty fairly. Are PLCs organized by department or cross-curricular? Right now they are organized by department, although we do have opportunities built into our professional learning time, which is separate from those Wednesday mornings, where cross-curricular work can be done. I'm just going to kind of give you a second in case anybody else wants to jump in with a question or just a contribution if you just kind of want to add to the discussion. I don't necessarily need to be a talking head, although I can tell that I'm exactly that this morning. Thanks for being so natural with us. Do students provide tech support? How does your district hear student voices? I love that question. We do have some students who provide tech support. We have our students do a lot of our webpage work. We've had students do webmaster work. The more in-depth some of that has gotten, the more that it's kind of moved to a centralized location at our administration office. But I don't know that we necessarily hear student voices enough. I know that as we are talking about this one-to-one shift, that certainly our instructional technology director is just wonderful. I can't say enough wonderful things about her. And I know that she seeks student voices, but I don't know how organized that is. Do I see universities looking at learning in similar ways to high schools? Wow. We really do need to have that P20 conversation, don't we? There are times when I think universities are ahead of us. We have several universities in our state who, for their language programs, their freshman composition programs, use a fully integrated program where students are reading, writing, speaking, viewing, listening, kind of all integrated, and they then organize students by cohorts in terms of interest areas. And so there might be a learning group of engineers or a learning group of biology students that would be different from maybe your traditional journalism students or communication students. And I really like the idea of organizing kids together to really start to talk to them as though they're professionals. So to talk to them like they're botanists or and mathematicians, and have those instructors really think about the kinds of literacy experiences that would define a mathematician or a physicist or a literary critic, whatever it might be. But then there are other times when I think that higher ed still has an incredible influence on what we are doing or not doing in secondary and even, primary grades. Just because so much of that structure, that university higher ed structure, is still so bureaucratic. It's really hard to see how they're going to flatten that out, and I think that's what we need to do. We need to talk about flattening out those hierarchies, which is really what your one-to-one is doing, I think. It's probably creating learners out of all of you. So you probably have had moments where you feel the same frustration or curiosity or euphoria that your students feel. And I think that's a gift. I think it's a gift that we can give our students. That when we have an opportunity to model for them the learning process, we can connect with them in a really, really important way. Have I incorporated portfolios? Absolutely. I'm kind of a portfolio freak. Portfolios for everything. I've been doing portfolios. That's one thing that has not changed in my teaching instruction. I started with portfolios my very first year of teaching, and although the nature of them probably has shifted over time, it's been really important to me to maintain this opportunity for students to see their work holistically. So they certainly use portfolios kind of towards the end as a way of reflecting on their work and setting goals. Our department just essentially got rid of all of our course offerings. We called ourselves a a department with electives, and we really only had 7 choices for students, and they had to take 4 of them. So it really wasn't any choice at all. So we got rid of all of our courses and created 15 new ones. All of them are integrated in terms of reading, writing, speaking, viewing, and listening, and they all are thematic based. So now we have, instead of having 10th grade English and American Lit and World Lit and composition, now we have integrated language arts for all 10th graders, and then we have courses like Gender's Game or Power of Persuasion or Reading the Screen or Sport Competition and Culture, Heroic Men and Women. There are 15 of those. And instead of ordering textbooks last year, we ordered 11,000 books. So students have the opportunity to read a whole class text. They all have independent reading, and they all have group choices. So I think that, and we use a portfolio system in that 10th grade course to pull the whole course together and to keep all of the 8 teachers who are teaching it continuing to work together throughout the year. Can I explain a typical day or project in one of my lower level classes? What tools you use? Well, there are 2 primary lower level classes that I've taught quite a few times. One of them has been a class where everyone who didn't pass freshman English in our other building came and took my class. And there were some years where it was a wonderful group of students, and there were some years when there was one year especially that it was the most trying semester of my teaching career. I had 28 students. Of the 28, when I went to write graduation cards for all of them as seniors, there were only 7 who were still there, which was wonderful for those 7, but kind of heartbreaking for the other 21. But those, that lower level class, I would say, I focus a lot on skill. And when I focus on reading with them, I actually kind of think about it the same way I might think about preparing for some kind of athletic event, because I found that most of my readers couldn't sustain their reading at all. And so I started to give them stopwatches, and we would see how long they could sustain their reading. And a lot of them honestly started with 1 or 2 minutes, and we would do this like once a week. And so then we would see how long can you stay focused on your reading. And by the end of the course, they were reading for 30, 35 minutes, which for them was just a huge improvement, because again, that sustained reading is so important. In fact, I was just at a conference, a literacy conference last week, where the keynote, Dick Allington, said that there was some research that noted students only read 18 minutes a day. They only have sustained reading for 18 minutes a day, because so much of what they read is a paragraph or less. And they only counted sustained reading if it was more than a paragraph that they read during the school day. They're reading so many headlines and so many directions that they're not getting that sustained time. So I think a lot of the lower level classes are an effort to really focus on those skills. But I would also say that my expectations are not lower for them, they are just slower for them. I think that's probably a really good way to define that class. How does my district manage professional development time for staff? We have a professional development team, and I've served on that team since its inception, and I'm taking a little leave from it right now. But the team does organize the professional development on our professional development days. So we have, our district has organized this differently over the years. Most recently, we've gone to full professional development days only like 4 times a year. And that had something to do with busing and some elementary schools in our district. Although I really liked the half days. We used to do about 8 half days throughout the year, and I liked that a lot better. And really the professional development time was organized by teachers. And we had, we spent a lot of time over the summer really essentially writing a curriculum. What is it that we want teachers to be able to learn? How do we want to empower them this year? And then we would work towards that. So Thank you for the little shout out there about taking my classes. I'm missing those kids so much. I walked into the school the other day, and you know how schools, especially high schools, smell a certain way? And they do smell different, but I'll just get there rather than 8th hour with sophomore boys. But and I just got so nostalgic because I forgot how much I love the smell of school. So I'm going to have to find some ways to get back there here in the next couple weeks. Do I have resources for digital portfolios? Not resources that I'm happy with yet. It is absolutely something that we're exploring. We still are using paper versions of portfolios. My department is kind of Google Doc crazy. We probably could be poster children for Google Docs for the hundreds of them that we have and share with each other. But we are looking, one of my colleagues has really been looking at Google Docs, and he really thinks it might be a good way to organize electronic portfolios, but we aren't quite sure yet. So I wish that we did have a resource that I could share with everyone and say, this is the way to do it.
Hey, Sarah,
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what's your next couple months look like?
Busy.
Yeah.
Busy. Actually, this afternoon, I'm going to go work with all of the new hires in our district, and we're going to talk about formative assessment, and I'm kind of a reality TV freak. It's really my one vice because I'm up so late at night doing school things that is about the only thing on, so I watch Food Network challenge shows. And so we're going to spend a little time looking at kind of our culture of criticism and think about whether or not those are good models for the kinds of feedback that we want to have in the classroom, and then do a little work with that. Next week, I am going back to my home school, the town I grew up in. So I'm going to spend a day there with the teachers, doing some workshops. And then I'm going to be in Portland, working on policy things for 4 days next week. After that, September, I'm trying to think where I'm going in September. I work my calendar about 1 month out.
Yeah.
And then you should see it, because I'm organizing where all of my children are going and where my husband is supposed to be and when my mom is coming to help and when the nanny's coming to help. It's very color coordinated and confusing. So I do that about a month out. But I'm also going to get to see all of the other state teachers of the year in New York in September, or at the end of September. So lots of different opportunities. Oh, I know, I'm going to go open a school or do a kickoff with a school in Wisconsin, and then go visit a couple of schools in Delaware at the end of the month. So that should be really exciting. It's just a really neat chance to see education so globally. I mean, if anything, that's part of the gift of this. I know there's an honor along with this National Teacher of the Year, but it really is a job. And I'm pretty determined to give meaning to the job, not just to fulfill it. So I'm working hard to figure out how to use this opportunity to really help my students and all kinds of students and teachers when I'm through with it. So.
Well, from the short time that we've had a chance to get to meet you, you certainly are fulfilling that role already, and so we really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with us this morning. It's been great.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks.
And you all are welcome. If you have other questions that you want to send my way, I will, is there somebody that I can send an email to, or you can just maybe, you probably have it, don't you, Don?
Say again.
Do you have my email?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay, so you can certainly share that
will.
with your team there.
All right.
And if anybody has follow-up questions, feel free to contact me. You can contact me on Facebook. You can contact me on Twitter. I'm Sara Wessling on Twitter, Sara Brown Wessling on Facebook.
Awesome. All righty.
All right.
Anyone else before we let Sarah go? Again, thanks, Sarah. Thank you. You're awesome. We're really proud.
Thank you.
We're really proud of you, and thank you for sharing time. You take care. Take some time to enjoy the rest of the summer, too, okay?
Oh, I will. Take care.
All right, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.